So, what if you could completely reset your home and, your mind every single evening? Today, we're going to dive into this really fascinating one-week experiment with a traditional Japanese cleaning routine called osoji. We're going to see what really happens when you commit to a full, deep clean every single night. And let me tell you, the results, they are not what you might expect.
Okay, just look at this. This one sentence, it captures the entire journey, right? It kicks off with that feeling of skepticism we all have. That feeling that our space or our schedule is it's too small, it's too busy for a habit like this. But it ends with a complete turnaround. This is really the story of discovering that the limits we set for ourselves, a lot of the time, they're not real.
So, what is osoji exactly? Well, it's not just, a quick wipe down. We're talking about a full-blown reset of your entire home. Sweeping, mopping, wiping down every single surface, cleaning the kitchen and the bathroom, taking out the trash, the whole shebang. It's a practice that a lot of Japanese families follow religiously, and the whole point is to go to bed with a completely clean slate.
To really get what this is all about, we're going to follow along with a one-week reality check. This isn't just theory. This is about what actually happens when a real person tries to fit this pretty intense routine into a modern, busy life. Let's see how it all went down. All right, so here's the setup. We've got one person, 7 days straight, and a 28 square meter apartment, which, for perspective, is just over 300 square feet. Now, this is so important because a small space has its own unique challenges. Yeah, on one hand, there's less area to clean, but on the other, any little bit of clutter can make the entire place feel totally chaotic. There's literally nowhere to hide the mess.
Now this is what I find so fascinating. You can just see the dramatic learning curve here. I mean, look at that first night, 52 minutes. It was described as brutal. And that's a huge lesson right there. You have to expect night one to be tough. But then you see things start to click. By day 3, a system starts to form, a flow is found, and bam, the time drops to 38 minutes. And then by day 6, life happens, which forces an adaptation, a really critical 20-minute version. This whole journey from being overwhelmed to finding efficiency is what it's all about, leading up to day 7, which is this fundamental change in mindset. And we're going to get into that next.
And that brings us to the biggest, and I mean the biggest, revelation of this whole experiment. It was never really about the cleaning. The most profound changes weren't about having a spotless floor. They were about a complete mental transformation. The physical act of cleaning, that was just the way in.
This is the point where osoji stops being a chore and turns into this seriously powerful productivity tool. See, when you wake up to a completely clean space, you get rid of that decision fatigue, that visual clutter right at the start of your day. And that absolutely transforms your morning. It leads to this enhanced mental clarity. The routine itself goes from being this dreaded task to a kind of meditative practice, a way to wind down and tell your brain, okay, the day is officially over. And a really interesting side effect? You become way more intentional about what you bring into your home because you're going to have to deal with it every single night.
And this quote, wow, it just perfectly illustrates the psychological impact. A clean, organized space literally creates the feeling of more space. When your eyes aren't constantly getting snagged on little piles of clutter, your brain can just relax. The room feels less tight, more expansive, which is an incredible feeling, especially if you live in a small apartment.
So let's get into the practical side of things. How do we turn this into something we can all actually use? Because let's be real, a 52-minute routine every single night is just not sustainable for most of us. The real goal here is to take the wisdom from osoji and boil it down into an actionable habit that fits into our real lives.
Right, so the huge insight from the experiment is this. The goal is not a daily deep clean forever. It's about shifting your entire mindset away from marathon cleaning, that weekend panic where you lose hours trying to catch up, and moving towards daily maintenance. It's all about creating a system that stops the overwhelm before it can even start.
Okay, so here it is, the sustainable 15-minute version. Let's walk through this like a tutorial. Step 1, the kitchen reset. You want to start here because the kitchen is usually the biggest source of daily mess. Getting that done first gives you this huge psychological win right off the bat. Step 2 is the floor refresh, and we're just talking a quick sweep of the kitchen and the entryway, not a perfect deep scrub. The goal here is progress, not perfection. Step 3, tidy and trash. This just means resetting surfaces, clearing the mail off the table, folding the blanket on the couch, and getting the trash out. And finally, step 4 is all about smart time management. You schedule the deeper cleans. By tackling the bathroom and a full kitchen scrub just twice a week, you make sure nothing gets truly gross, but you also don't get bogged down on any single night. You know, ultimately, this isn't just a to-do list, it's a completely new philosophy for how you interact with your home. It's about starting to see your space as something that deserves consistent daily care, instead of just periodic stressful bursts of attention.
And this slide just lays it out perfectly. On one side, you've got marathon cleaning. It's reactive. You wait till the mess is overwhelming, and then cleaning becomes this draining, panic-fueled chore that just devours your entire weekend. But on the other side, you've got daily maintenance. It's proactive. It's a short, sustainable, and even mentally clearing ritual that prevents the mess from ever getting out of hand. The one you choose has a massive impact on your stress levels and your mental energy.
All right, let's tie it all together with the 10 key lessons from this experiment. First, the practical stuff. Expect night one to be hard, but break the routine into sections so you can find your own flow. It's about building a system, not just working harder. Next up, that huge psychological impact we talked about. A consistently clean space really does improve your mental clarity, it transforms your morning, and it can actually make your space feel bigger. That's that core mental shift right there. Then we get into long-term habit building. You have to adapt when life gets busy. That is the secret to making it stick. This whole process also makes you so much more intentional about what you own. And finally, the core philosophy. Remember that small spaces have their own challenges, but the ultimate goal is just maintenance, not a daily marathon. And maybe the most powerful lesson of all, that a small daily habit is more than enough to break those old stressful cycles for good. And so that leaves us with this one last really important question. It's not about finding an extra hour in your day. It's about finding just 15 minutes. Think about your morning routine, your stress levels, your relationship with the space you live in. What could that small, consistent investment of nightly care really change for you?